Does your property have deed restrictions? How do you find out? And what does that mean? And how are those enforceable? So if you haven't looked at your deed, you certainly can. If you need a copy of a deed, you can actually just send me your address and you can message me below. I can get you a copy of your deed. But a lot of people don't realize that within your deed, there's a lot of references in there, and sometimes there's simply a list of restrictions that are on your deed. And I'm dealing with a property right now that has some deed restrictions, and really, the funny thing about it is that these restrictions are really open to interpretation. And I've got some buyers that are looking at this particular property, and they're like, okay, well, we want to do this. Now let's just say this, this property R3 zone, so it's out in the country. Very conducive to, like, very flat, very open, very conducive to maybe building an accessory structure like a detached garage and using it to run a business out of. Totally legit in that zone. The deed restriction that is in this particular deed actually says that it's only to be used for residential purposes, even though it's kind of like, it's a weird restriction. We see things like that a lot in subdivisions. So you get a nice little cul-de-sac subdivision of colonial homes, brand new homes, you'll see deed restrictions like that. You'll see, no mobile homes. You'll see things like, I don't know, they'll restrict fences, they'll restrict pools, they'll restrict, what you can park in your yard. But so that's what they are. You'll see them on the deed, or you'll see them referenced separately in the deed. And so the question has come up now: how long do those run for? How to get them off the deed, and who enforces that? So a deed restriction can be put on by the owner of a property, and it runs with the life of the land. So as I like to say, as long as the earth is here, that restriction will run with the land. The person who put the restriction on the deed is somehow able to get that off also. The other way to get a deed restriction off is through a judicial process, and that sounds long and expensive. Now, so what if these buyers bought this property and built this barn and ran a business out of it, regardless of what the deed says? Who enforces that? And that's the funny thing. I mean, we don't have the deed police driving around making sure that people are adhering to the restrictions on their deed. And every house is different. Some don't. Some have no restrictions at all. So we had a little discussion about it this morning in the office, and who enforces that, and what would even prompt that to be enforced? So that would actually be enforced judicially also. So either whoever owned the land or anybody can call up a deed restriction, hire an attorney, and go after the owner of the property in court to have that whatever the what's not allowed. I don't know why I'm at a loss for words right now, but have whatever is not allowed removed. And so that's really the process, and that's how it's enforced. So really interesting, really interesting conversation. It's one thing if you're in a subdivision and that it's a little bit more easily enforced if there's an HOA or if the builder is still building the property. But once the property's been constructed for many, many years and there's a deed restriction on it, and you're out in the country, you don't have a lot of close neighbors and whatever. I don't know how much weight those restrictions really carry in this day and age when going through judicial process is so expensive. I guess it'd really have to be worth it to whoever was calling them out on that restriction. So anyway, if you would like to see a copy of your deed, I bet you haven't looked at it in a long time, you can send me a message, send me your address, I can get you a copy of it. You can also look it up on your county's registry of deeds. Some places you need to have an account or some places you need to pay. I don't need to do that. So if you send it to me, I'll send it to you for free. But have a great day. Have a good weekend.